Friday evening, everybody. Welcome into the Philly Friday Frenzy. I am Big Al here on the It's Rap Sports Network, and I am wrapping your week up with a little Philly sports talk. I'm sure you have had enough. You've heard it all. You've discussed it to length. But my opinion was asked for. My opinion was asked for on the Nick Castellanos situation and how we can turn anything in this city into a back and forth conversation. It's amazing. Super Bowl's over. Where Seahawks are now Super Bowl champions. Eagles have some work to do ahead of them, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But the big conversation is who was to blame for the Nick Castellanos situation? Was it Nick Castellanos? Was it the Phillies? I like to believe it was a little bit of both, but I will get into why I believe this is all on Nick. A lot of this is on Nick Castellanos. And something that's been a problem. Now, I've read the Matt Gelb article. I know everybody, that was like a big thing, was a source of information. A lot of guys were able to speak freely, but anonymously between players and back office people or people who are, in the mix, but not actual players. That his attitude and his personality became in a question from day one a little bit, and they dealt with that, and I guess they knew that. But I will be opening up the phone lines tonight for those who do ask that question. And the way that works for anybody who's listening right now, I will put a link in the comments section in a little bit. You may click on that link. You do not have to turn your camera on. You can just do audio. Just make sure you put your name in down there so I know who I am talking to. If you do video, I ask you no background noise, no music, no TV, no people in the background, just so we can have a legitimate conversation. Or I won't be able to pull you on or keep you on for a long period of time. But we're going to be talking about all that and more. Sixers and Flyers are on a break between the NBA All-Star break and the Olympic break. Flyers couldn't get to the Olympic break sooner. Embiid is injured. Tell me if you heard that story before, but our boy Maxey will be playing in the All-Star game for whatever that's worth. As you guys know, when you're in a hunt for anything, and I know Sixers hunt kind of steep at this point, but I don't believe in All-Star games in the middle of the season, World Baseball Classics in the beginning of the season. Olympic breaks. I mean, I don't know, whatever. I used to like them when I was younger, but now, like, what I've learned from doing this for so long and just paying attention, the wear and tear these guys have on their body, the mileage they put on, it's wasted. And for what they get paid by our city or our teams in our city to do so, and we're going to talk about a lot of it's going to come back to the numbers, because all I heard is this stuff about Nick Castellanos, and all I consider and say is you're getting paid $20 million a year, 5-year contract to play baseball. And then he's on podcasts and this, that, and the other, and came out that he didn't even want to be here. He wanted to stay on, which I get. That doesn't mean anything. I know people get all bent out of shape about, he didn't want to be here originally and whatever. That's fine. Rob, what is going on, brother? Good evening to you, my friend. It's, in my eyes, it boils down. I try to look at this from our point of view as the average Joe who's not making $20 million a year to play a child's game. We make that possible for him, because that's the thing I think is forgotten. Would the UFSL or UFL or WNBA players or other smaller sports organizations, arena football players, would they like to make more money? Sure. Isn't that what it's all about? Joe Howard is on, my friend. Rob is saying Cassie is a big baby. And I think that's part of the problem. I mean, listen, I'm not putting 100% on Cassie, but I will put I put a lot of it on him. Okay. And I know a lot of people are coming back to Rob Thompson and Dave Dombrowski on this, and they get a little blame, and we'll get into that too. But my point is, it's simple. if I disrespect my boss or a manager at my company or anybody's company, you're going to get in trouble or fired for more. This guy gets fired and still making $20 million. Who lost that? Whose fault? All the man wants to do is play baseball, as I've heard. That's all I heard. He could be, but he can't play ball. He can play baseball, maybe, and even then, it's questionable. Not $20 million a year. The guy got paid for one good year. I mean, really, his career year was the year before he joined the Phillies when he was with the Reds still. Cassidy didn't like when he got benched, Rob saying. I think Cassidy didn't like more. And I just don't get, I'm over him. I was over him already. And, listen, he's had some big moments. And there's times when this team struggled and he was the only guy doing it. I'm not saying he can't. But, I mean, in his career here, $20 million a year, batting a 260 average. I'm not going out of my way for him. I'm not, and listen, some guys will get what about Bryce Harper? He's produced sometimes more than Bryce Harper has. And Bryce Harper, he just panders. Yeah, Bryce Harper panders, whatever. That's what he does. If I'm making that kind of bread off of somebody, I'll pander to you as well. I mean, that's just that's dumb when I hear those things. He has been given a lot. I mean, we look past some things. Like his child was in the stands a lot. His child was in the locker room. Liam has been much part of it. And we all, when they were winning, it was cool. It was fun. It was a soft, not so rough and tough Philly moment. And he gets to, and listen, these guys, it's hard to be dads when, from March to October, November, you're on the road a lot, especially if you're not playing in your hometown. I get that as part of the job. I get that. That's a tough part. But don't get upset when you're crying yourself to sleep making $20 million a year. The man was well overpaid. This wouldn't be in question if he was a good player. I think that's forgotten about for a second. Let's just back it up for a second. If he was worth $20 million. I hope if Nick Castellanos can learn from this to not overvalue himself. He had that superstar diva moment. Joe, yes. I guess you just popped on late after I said it. Yes, we will have the phone lines open in a few moments, not too long from now. You can have that. Let's look at the AJ Brown situation. Not everybody wants to get rid of him, and rightfully so, because of the pure talent and the ability and what he brings to the field when he's on the field and he's playing at his finest. But you lose fans when you struggle and you don't run out routes hard enough, or you don't catch the balls to a guy who says that's what I'm here to do. And you lose a little bit, but you still, even if you're not a big AJ Brown fan from a personality standpoint, which I'm not from the personality standpoint, but I get what he brings to the table. Nick Castellanos had the same, if not worse, diva-esque personality, apparently, but didn't have AJ Brown type consistent abilities. And I think that's the part that's been getting forgotten about all this. You can't have this, my shit don't stink. I'm bigger than the game, act like bigger than the game, but I'm pretending I'm not bigger than the game. But, I'm taking, listen, I was over Nick Castellanos a while ago. I pretty much said this is his last year, and I was kind of hoping they would trade him at the trade deadline, see if they get something for him, but I don't think anybody wants him. I guarantee that if a team came to the Phillies and said, we'll give you $5 million, you got to eat the other $15 million, and some garbage, no-name prospect that's 47 years old, and they'll take it in a heartbeat just to save $5 million. Nobody even wanted that. I want Cassidy to go to another team, and I hope he gets to play ball again another day. Don't get me wrong. But I hope this humbles him because nobody wanted you, Nick Castellanos. Not even the guys who courted you in the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, were they wrong to kind of bend to his will a little bit? You do that when you're dealing with divas. You do that. And I was excited when Nick Castellanos got signed. Don't get me wrong. I think all the athletes get paid too much, Rob says. Listen, from the standpoint like where scientists are trying to cure diseases and them getting paid, yeah, it's but we create that, Rob. We create that. We allow that to happen by paying exuberant amount of money for tickets and parking and hot dogs and beers and TV and hats and shirts and jerseys. The fact that we're buying it is the fact that they can pay it. But I think the fact that it happens is not the biggest problem. The fact that it happens and it's just forgotten about. And that's what I think Nick Castellanos loses me the most about this situation, that he's never been humbled to the game. Didn't Cassie just get traded to Pittsburgh? No. I mean, they released him yesterday. If that's true, I mean, I don't know if that's a trade. He'd be picked up, but they would still be on the hook for. I know there was a conversation that the Pirates might be Nick Castellanos trade destination, but that's at this point doesn't matter. They let him go. They're going to have to pay the league minimum, which is less than $1 million, and the Phillies are on the hook for 19 other. It is what it is. As far as I know, it's a rumor. Mickey, what's up, buddy? What's going on? Cassie didn't want to be here. No, he didn't want to be here. I mean, he didn't want to be here from the get. And listen, that doesn't bother me. That really doesn't bother me because didn't everybody want to play? Like, if I would I want to go out and play in Kansas City for the Royals? No. Would I rather be in Philly in my hometown and play here? Absolutely. But if I have an opportunity to play and I'm going to get paid $20 million a year to do it, but Kansas City's willing to pay that kind of money, he could have taken less money and went somewhere else. He's the one who said it's not all about the money, but he wanted the most money, and he wanted to find another suitor who would pay a lesser market, I should say, who would pay the $20 million a year to get him here. And he took it gratefully. And like I said, they accommodated him a lot, especially with the whole Liam thing. Now, I actually took some excerpts from the article, so I don't know if you guys have read the Matt Gelb article. It was pretty eye-opening. I'll take it with some grains of salt. Like when guys will speak freely but anonymously, I got to take that for what it's worth. You know, Matt Gelb's been around the team. I worked right next to Matt Gelb, sitting in the press box numerous times, in the locker room and stuff. So I mean, he is, you know, he's finger on the pulse of the Phillies. I mean, probably one of the top insiders for the Phillies right now. Him, Tim Kelly, those guys. Got to work along a lot of them. Great guys. Most of the guys in that area are great guys. Some guys can be full of themselves, but it comes with the territory in this company, in this business. But Matt Gelb's got his finger on the pulse, so I take it with a little bit more reverence than I would take some generic other guy who is just randomly throwing things together and coming up with his own theory. It's a little bit more smoke where there is fire type situation. That's why I don't get many games, because it costs too much. I'll go to many games. Yeah, I mean, I got four. All right, I've got 4 kids now. My daughter's older; she don't go to games often with me, but she will if I take her. And so if I take my wife and kids, that's 6 people, bare minimum. If I get 300 level, which I hate sitting in the 300 level, I became a ticket snob a long time ago. I'm still paying between parking and food and drink. It's like $1,000. $700-800 easily. It's a lot. It's a lot of money, especially this day and age, for expensive as everything is. Can't order 2 pizzas without spending $40-some. Back in the day, Friday pizza, man, when we were younger, not great. I'm 43 years old. I'm not acting like I'm an old man. But when I was in my early 20s or even late teens. For $20, you can get 2 large pizzas and a soda and have a couple dollars left to go towards the tip. Nowadays, $20 don't even get you a cheese pizza. So, with that being said, then you go there, you go to the ballpark, and a hot dog's going to cost you $7. Beer's going to cost you $14. It's $21 to have a beer and a hot dog. Forget about it. Well, I'm an old man. I get it. I don't care if you're 20 years old right now, Rob, and you're making good money, or you're an old man making good money. That's still a lot of money to fork up for a baseball game. And don't forget the time it takes. I don't care unless you go to get down there, to go up there. Even if you live like I do, fairly close to the stadiums, I can get there with no traffic in 20 minutes or less. You know, getting in and out of the traffic, and it's a 3-hour game, and then getting home. It's a 4-hour day, bare minimum. Bare minimum. It's a lot. And then you gotta give up your money. And that's the thing. Like, that's the shit with the Nick Castellanos stuff that really irks my soul, to be honest with you. It really does. It's all like, get through like, oh, how Rob handled something, how Dombrowski handled something. And listen, there is some blood on their hands in this situation. Don't get me wrong. But there has been guys, I'm sure, who haven't agreed, per se, with management. And I'm sure they talked to Rob. Rob seems one of the most approachable coaches. He's a players coach. I'm sure he can talk to people. It's just he's a D-bag how he handles it. He does it in the middle, in the middle of the locker room or something. But in this case, and for those who don't know the story by now, which I highly doubt any of you guys listening don't know, or gal, should I say? Yeah, you're in Dover, so you're not even anywhere close. But it was back in June. We didn't know exactly what happened. We all talked about it. We knew it would come out sometime soon after he got let go, when they want to, and I'm sure the Phillies released some information to kind of paint a picture of Nick Castellanos to make themselves look better. I get it. They're going to do that. They're going to kind of smear him on the way out. It is what it is. But let's talk about the Matt Gelb article first. Here's a couple excerpts. I keep saying excerpts from that article that I kind of just highlighted. Even before the June 16th incident, many teammates had come to resent Castellanos for his attitude. It starts to wear thin. Again, A.J. Brown, we were okay with putting up with it because we won a Super Bowl, right? We were in a Super Bowl. We won a Super Bowl. We were okay. We were happy to do it. Happy to do it. You could be a likable dickhead if you're winning. Remember, winning changes everything. Winning cures all, we always say. But the team was probably frustrated with the trajectory. For all the frustrations we know as fans, I should say, I'm sure these guys get it. I'm sure these guys get it big time. They feel that kind of like, all right, man, we keep kind of falling in the same situation, and they're not going to come out and say, yeah, we're doing the same thing over and over again because we're assholes. They get it. They get it. I think you would have to be pretty friggin' clueless to not see the writing on the wall. So I'm sure frustrations come from that. But when you're frustrated and you're dealing with a guy who's this diva-esque guy and he's not producing, I don't want to hear, he has more is it RBIs or hits in the postseason the last 2 years and Bryce Harper. I get it. Nobody's been doing well for the most part in the postseason. And he only got time in this postseason because Harrison Bader got hurt. I mean, he became a bench player at best after Harrison Bader got traded for. So obviously this team had gotten tired of him. So June 16th, he was taken out in the 8th inning for a defensive substitution. And if winning is what he says it's all about, he would be understanding that you aren't the best defensive player. We have a better option in defense. And you're going to sit now. You played 7 of the 9 innings today. What's the problem? You get 2 innings off. And you're going to be a little bitch about it. I don't know. Whatever. You can't disrespect the manager and talk to him the way he did, one of the Phillies players said. So it's apparently a player. You can't expect it all to be the same after that. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is a line was crossed. Now, he brought out the beer and sat in the dugout, which is, by the way, a giant fine from Major League Baseball. I think towards the Phillies, maybe the player too. I have to look up that a little bit, but there would be having an open alcohol container in an active dugout is a finable offense. So not was he just being a D-hole. He was going to cause a whole mess of problems for the Phillies organization. Who's paying you $20 million a year to play baseball? That's my thing. That's where the, excuse me, loss in translation thing comes in. Like, that's my big problem. Yes, it's a player and a team fine. So, yeah, he would have got slapped with it. They would have got slapped with it. And all because he got sat for a defensive substitution in the evening. That's that. And why? Are you better than everybody else? Like, come on, man. If winning's everything, you'll do what's best for the team. You know, for all the hate Harper gets. And I think Harper gets a pass at things, sometimes too much, because he's Bryce Harper, and it kind of comes with the clout. But then at the same time, I think he also gets a little hate because and the question is he starting to become a bust? And that question might be answered. You know what I mean? It's the sad truth, but we'll get to that when the time comes. But he crossed the line, and he came in, and he sat in his dugout, and he had this green beer, which is a Presidente beer, whatever it's called. And sitting back like he was on vacation or something. And right next to Rob, had some things to say to Rob. I'm sure they weren't well thought out, eloquent, or any which way you want to slice it. It was, you crossed the line that you can't go back from. And that's a part of a diva's problem. They think, and I've dealt with people in my life a lot like this. Very emotional people who think very highly of themselves, who think they can do something really above, acceptable behavior enough times, and everybody's always going to go, clean slate, we'll go back to everything. But it doesn't work that way. He thinks he was definitely better than everyone else. I mean, it comes off that way. It's hubris, Rob. It's hubris. That's for sure. Another quote, in the clubhouse as prominent players distanced themselves from Castellanos, everyone agreed to play nice. So I'm guessing that's what that means is they're like, we'll still play with him, but we're going to kind of arm's length him. Okay. Being the bigger man, but definitely had to be a distraction to the clubhouse. Everyone, it was easier for some than others. So that was an easier said than done situation. Many had difficult time overcoming what they believed was an unforgivable act committed by Castellanos. And you're probably sitting there going, he brought a beer in a dugout. Like, that's the big problem. Again, it was the disrespect. And what could it cause? When you're the manager on the duty and you just don't care about, anything, then it's disrespectful. And at one point, it's a tipping point. As it was a tipping point for him, apparently, it was a tipping point for others. And the last one, but Castellanos, many of his teammates argued he was not a team player. So there was something in that article that kind of went back and forth about guys didn't want to outright say he wasn't a team player. And other guys didn't want to outright say he was because they had some good moments. And when he had good moments, it was good. Things were good there. and things seemed good, but ultimately, it was, how do I put this? The bad outweighed the good, I guess, is the best way of putting it. The bad outweighed the good, and then that, to me, is tipping point. There's a tipping point on both sides. Is this a sign that Rob is losing the locker room? That is a great question, by the way. That was something I have on my list of questions where this led to. But it does tell you something about the Phillies organization, possibly, or being. And here's the other question: was was Frankenstein's monster going after Frankenstein? And I'm not saying Rob Thompson created this guy, because I guarantee he wasn't even technically the coach when he started here, right? Pretty sure, yeah. But he was, allowing it because he's a quote unquote player's coach. But again, some guys just take it further, and some guys think consequences don't, happen to them. And that's what I think we're seeing today. And he's getting out again. I hope that this situation humbles him to say, okay, I was paid really good by a company, a market that would praise you, would love you. And I don't think anybody really disliked, at least from like a fan standpoint. I mean, we got frustrated with him. Plenty of times I drove him to the airport because I just felt like I was just, one of the things I actually wanted to bring up, there was another piece of the article I wanted to bring up. Hold on one second. The Phillies did not see it that way. They believed they had gone to great lengths to create a comfortable environment for Castellanos. Some team officials knew it was important for him, his oldest son, Liam. It was a frequent presence on the field and in the clubhouse. Other clubs might have been more proactive, platooning Castellanos or removing him from the defense well before the Phillies attempted it. So the Phillies felt, and, of course, they're going to feel everything's on the up. They're doing the best. And if the best thing for the team is to win, then that's fine. And if you and Rob said, listen, like your boss is a D-bag or a nice guy, you disrespect them. Even the nicest guys in the world are going to push back, because that's all I heard. Oh, Rob Thompson was soft. And the minute he gets hard with somebody, I know, go ahead, phrasing, he's the bad guy. And I disagree with that. I will have him open shortly. I have a couple things I'm going to go over with you. Then I'm going to bring it in because I'm going to get everybody's input. Because Rob Thompson kept playing him when he was struggling. He played a whole 2023 season, was it? Every game, and he struggled mightily for the first half of that season. Should have never gotten as much playing time as he did. But Rob stood by Nick. And yet he still disrespected. And I think that's kind of the part that was forgotten. And I think that's why Rob said, I'm done with this dude. I stuck my neck out. I've taken a lot of flack for playing him as much as we did when we probably maybe shouldn't have, or sat him before when we should have. And all he can do is be disrespectful to me and really in huge way, play a way could have got, him and a lot of the Phillies into, hot water, especially with the whole beer thing. It's just they tried to find a taker and they wouldn't take it. So I hope that to him is, the big eye opener. And I'm going to play this clip. This was from Tim Kelly at Tim Kelly Sports on Twitter, and great guy. Guy, like I said, I got to work next to, talk to in the Phillies press box. Really well spoken, really well versed in the Phillies, and he works now on Pattison, or works with, however you want to put it. And he asked Kyle Schwarber if whether Nick Castellanos was a distraction in 2025. And I want you to hear, not just listen to the words, but hear look at his facial expressions and listen to Schwarber try to answer this question. You can tell he's definitely trying to be politically correct and salvage. And, the guy's probably still his friend and all that stuff, but just watch.
Do you think the situation with Nick last year was a distraction at all?
I mean, that's here nor there. I mean, it's we did what we did, right? I felt like that in the Dodgers series that we played good games, right? Like there were just things that we didn't execute, and we didn't walk away with wins at the end of the day. So it's hard to say here or there, right? Like we put ourselves in the position to where we wanted to be, and we just got knocked out. So can't really say.
So he didn't say yes. He didn't say no. Could have just said no. That was blip on the radar. In the scheme of things, just the season didn't work out because the season didn't work out because of our play or not being able to pull it together when we needed it against the Dodgers or whatever he could have said. The face, you could see that it was the question he wanted to answer. He kind of sunk a little, probably felt a little bad about it. But he also wasn't going to give you a lie, so he kind of gave you it was not here nor there. It was here and it was there. Now, maybe it didn't say, he didn't say like, this was definitely a distraction and it's on us to win. And it is on them to win. Distractions are going to happen, but it was an unnecessary distraction. Joe's saying a lot of people were complaining about that Rob did it on purpose by doing it in front of his family. He brought a beer out because he got benched for a defensive, which happens a lot with him. He is a defensive liability, right? I mean, we all cheer when he does something cool in the outfield, but we don't cheer when anybody else does it. Why? Because you're supposed to be able to do it if you're a professional baseball outfielder. Like, let's be honest. Now, Schwarber didn't say much. He avoided the question, meaning if it was a simple no, that's not at all. I mean, he could have just said no. No. I mean, the Knicks situation, nothing to do with it. I didn't even recognize it. Didn't even bother me. I was too focused on the season, and obviously didn't pan out as well as we would hope. And here we are today, looking to bounce back, get back to the playoffs, and get to a World Series and win it all for this city. Simple answer. Could have done that. He kind of backtracked. You want to say you want to say no. That's how I look at things. All right. So the link is in the chat. So you click on the link. It will ask you to turn your camera on and your microphone on. And then you will all you have to do is wait for me to bring you on. Remember, no background noise, no music, no people in the background or anything like that. Or I won't be able to keep you on or much at all. That's my only rules. Just like a phone call, But yeah, I mean, Nick Castellanos sank his own boat, and he's out of here for that reason. But he's out of here with $20 million still in his pocket. He could still go play baseball somewhere else, and they get to get a guy who has some upside to him for less than $1 million. So who loses here? The Phillies and the ability to sign anybody else, the Phillies fans. Was it mismanaged? That's a question to be had. But do you think in the beginning of last season anybody would have taken another $20 million on of Nick Castellanos? Do you think anybody would have taken on $20 million of halfway or $10 million halfway through the season with another year on his contract at the All-Star break for him? I think the answer is no. And I think that's why. They were stuck with him. They overpaid for him. And he made out from it like a bandit. Yet he showed no respect for it. And that's a problem. But a guy who I know is really respectful. And a great guy. My boy Joe Howell is right here in the room. I'm going to bring him up right now, guys. Let's welcome in Joe. What's going on, Joe?
I touched on this with Maddie B yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I'm on the phone. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a third grade move by him writing before all the stuff went down. Because Howie Kendrick saw something too. He's the one that had to separate Castellanos and Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else knew something. You know Ricky Patalica, right?
Yeah.
He's he said after that game they weren't talking to Castellanos because something went down. And he said something that he shouldn't have said something to the other players. Something negative that Matt, the beat writer for the Phillies, won't
Matt
even.
Gelb.
So what was said? I wish we could find out more.
You know what, Joe? After this weekend, I'm done talking about it, to be honest with you. Well, all right, let me ask you a question. If you found out, I heard it was Max Kepler, he said something to. I
Yeah.
don't know what he said. Some people in the beginning tried to say he said something a little racially um, charged.
Okay.
I don't know who he would have said that to or anything. I know a lot of Matt Gelb's articles said that he didn't trust Rob and Kevin Long because they weren't MLB players or they didn't have really MLB careers, which I think is disrespectful. You don't have to like somebody or you don't have to. But I mean, it also came out that when he struggled, remember he was like batting at under 200 in the first 3 months or so when he first started here for the Phillies. He was getting booed pretty quickly. And they were talking about working on his approach to the plate. Now, this is according to that article, so I'm taking with it what it is. And he didn't want to take it from them. He didn't want to take the advice, I guess I should say, from them. And because he didn't respect them. And that's a problem. You don't have to like somebody you work with, right, Joe? You can have a guy next to you, a girl sits next to you, a manager, an office manager, whatever position you want. Or even a person who's in equal position to you as well. If you don't show respect, it's one thing if you don't like them. Like this guy Joe who sits to the left of me in office, he's an okay guy, but I'm not hanging out with him outside the office. That's fine. You don't have to have those feelings about the people you work next to, but you show the respect to them and not treat them or belittle them or not like when somebody gets a task that maybe you wanted to do or you think you deserve you should be doing. And that's the and you're getting paid $20 million to do it. Like that's my ultimate point. Like the Phillies or not, he wanted to go to somewhere else. He wanted to go to a smaller market. He definitely wanted to stay in Miami, but Miami might be getting taxed out the ass because they're one of those teams like Pittsburgh who don't want to go to the $120 million
luxury.
The minimum.
Okay.
$120 minimum payroll. And they're going to get taxed for being too low. And I was one of Passan was talking about it. I just think yesterday or today or earlier today maybe it was yesterday that this guy should sell it. He's not wrong. Like if you're not going to be here to compete, and this is how you compete, you have to get good contracts. They thought that maybe Miami would pick up Nick Castellanos because they need to get that number up. So maybe they go take a $10 million hit, have him come back, play there with them. And they only have to pay $10 million. The Phillies would be on the hook for another $10 million. That was kind of what I think the Phillies were like crossing their fingers for, to be honest with you. I think they knew there was no chance in hell that anybody was going to be dumb enough to pick him up for $20 million. Or they would have to give up some piece of farm system to go along with it that they didn't want to. So I think that's part of it as well.
Okay. But I'm surprised he wasn't dealt because I don't think anybody wants him. And that's
what I'm saying. He needs to be humbled because of that.
Yes. And Dombrowski spoke yesterday too and said the smart thing about it. Just let it be bygones be bygones. I don't want to deal with it anymore.
No. And listen, I know guys who are my great friends, Joe, who I love to death, but I'd never work a day in my life with them because either I know their work ethic or I know the kind of guy that they are, and they could be a little bit of a hothead. So, of course, Rob's going to be like, he's going to be that. He's been the bigger man in the sense because, if you're a pushover coach, as some people put him out there to be, then, he's always going to be the bigger man. What does he got to win? Oh, yeah. F that dude out the door. What does he looks like now? The Phillies look bad. And again, he's being smart. He's showing respect to the Phillies as an organization because he could say that about Nick Castellanos. He was a real problem child. This guy was a real problem. He disrupted the whole season. He might be a good reason why we didn't get as far as we should have in the playoffs. And everybody would have pushed back on that. If I heard that, if you heard that, you'd be like, all right, Rob, you've gone a little too far. No, he was smart enough to say, listen, what happened has happened. Water under the bridge. He's moving on. We wish him the best of luck, and that's the end of it.
I'm actually glad he's not on a team. Like, I work in Wawa, and all the chatter about was Castellanos today.
Yeah. Listen, he'll get on a team. Somebody will take a shot at him. I thought maybe they would hold on to him and bring him up to spring training and see if somebody got hurt on another team and they would be willing to take a couple bucks off of him. But I guess they just thought it wasn't going to work out that way. See what happens before opening day before you came back to Philly. I think that was something I thought could have happened, but I guess they thought it just wasn't good for the chemistry. And obviously, if he was as bad as a problem, and some guys probably didn't want to be around him or just didn't want to deal with the layover of what happened last year, I think that is a reason why they didn't prolong it and just let him go. And listen, man, you got to take a $20 million hit. Dombrowski's got to go to his boss, the owner, Matt Middleton, and say,
"Yeah, I think
dude, you got to pay dude $20 million to do nothing for you."
So at least his contract's off the books next year.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a couple of contracts be off the books, and we'll talk about that probably a little bit into next week. But I got another guy on the line. You know who it is. Mikey P is calling in. So, Joe, I want to thank you for joining me. Keep commenting in. I'm gonna hang up now. I'm gonna switch over to Mike, but it's always a pleasure, my friend. Be safe and have a good weekend.
You too.
All right, brother. And as I said, we go from one great guy to another. My boy, Mikey Papernick. Mike, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm making $20 million, and I'm flipping off my boss. That's
well. Here's a question for you. Okay,
yeah.
Not a question. Just think about this. They traded Strom. Why? Because he talked about whatever he wasn't happy with management.
Mm-hmm.
Castellanos spoke out about it. They benched him. Well, they said that wasn't the reason, but whatever. Nobody spoke up about it. It's fine when Harper says it's, oh, my bad, I won't do it again to Robbie. It's all like Castellanos said, everybody's treated different on that team.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you. Here's my thing is, and I said this a little earlier. I don't know if you were listening, but I said Bryce is going to get a little bit more clout just because he's Bryce Harper. And that's how it works, especially on baseball teams. There's hierarchies, but and maybe I don't know the whole thing about Strom. I know I didn't really get any great information behind him. I think Strom honestly was a guy they thought they were going to get some good return for and be able to take the books down more than anything. I think Strom would have still been here if that wasn't an issue. Nick Castellanos was a culmination, as I was talking about, a culmination of stupidity. Okay, the guy was a diva, right? I don't think anybody could deny that. But like AJ Brown, and I use the connection a lot, and Rob's in here saying he's a bigger diva, but AJ Brown won, right? They won a Super Bowl. He went to a Super Bowl. He's been winning. Now people are getting a little more annoyed with him when you're not winning because winning cures all in my eyes. But I mean, from day one, the guy's been he got way overpaid to become the Philly, and he did. He had accommodations for him with his son, and they put up with. I'm sure they put up with a lot. I mean, here's the thing: if I'm Rob Thompson again. Here's a guy. How many times have you said, why are they letting this guy still bat? He's batting under 200 and they're still letting him bat. Like, what's going on? He stuck by him. I think it was 2023, wasn't it? When he played in every game. And Rob Thompson was the guy who stuck by him when other people wouldn't have. And then I think that's where the kind of came in, be like, we're making a defensive substitution in the 8th inning. You're not the best defensive outfielder we have. You know that. We know that. I don't know why you're acting like it's any other which way. And he had a baby moment that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in my eyes, because that could have been a bigger problem for the Phillies. I mean, if that got on camera, that could have been a much bigger problem.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, we know it could be a much bigger problem. I mean, but who's the guy who signed him? Oh, wait a minute. Let me think of his name. Oh, Dombrowski. He signed 2 DHs. He signed Schwarber. So let's see. It started with him signing this guy. Just trying to figure. I mean, it's like the Andrew McCutcheon quote when after Matt Klentak signed him. Did you see the contract they gave me?
Yeah. Listen,
I mean,
I'm not telling you that Dombrowski and them are not at fault for paying him that much. And listen, I was happy to get him here, and it was coming out of the lockout, and nobody thought both of them were coming. Thought it was either going to be Schwarber or Castellanos, and they got both. And yeah, they overpaid him, and sometimes you have to get overpaid guys so you can compete with the market. Fine. The guy was coming off a career year in Cincinnati. Somebody else was going to pay him, but nobody was willing to pay him $20 million for 5 years. So, yeah, you could take some blame, but if it panned out, we wouldn't be blaming him. He would be a genius. They knew the diva they were dealing with. They thought, this, to be honest with you, I think this is their thought process. All right, well, we got these guys. We brought Harper in. We got this pitching. We got this, that, and the other. It's just a matter of time before we win the World Series now, like this year, maybe next year. And the hubris got to them, and then now it's not panning out. So now it looks dumb. Again, winning is the difference. If we won a World Series or two in the meantime, we wouldn't be arguing about this.
So in 2024, when Castellanos played 167 games, or whatever he played, it was 167, I think it was.
Yeah,
and he didn't want to come out of the game, and he's getting banged in the head for that. Like the people are complaining because the guy wants to stay out there. I mean, and play. And I mean,
no, he's not getting banged in the head for that. He's getting banged in the head for disrespecting his manager for making the decision. Now, granted, if you don't agree with it, I mean, Mike, I don't know where you live or where you work, but I'm sure if you disrespected a manager or a boss, it wouldn't pan out well for you, would it?
No, but listen. It's the thing. How I look at Robbie is like, it's with Castellanos, and I see after Harper turned around and said to him, "My bad, I won't do it again." Now you said something. Jimmy Rollins, a former MVP, was benched by his manager for doing the same thing Harper did. But we can't criticize Harper. We can't. The guy's the face of the franchise. He's the star. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Only one time 100 RBIs back in 2019. Let me see what else. When's he play a full season?
You're not. Listen, you're not.
I mean, so he's going to. You talk about diva. Think about this. Who came up with the showman for him? I never heard nobody come up with that. I just see him start wearing that showman. That's a diva too. We all got diva. All them athletes got it.
Listen, they got a little diva. And I'm not saying that. There's a difference between just being a guy who wants to be in the spotlight, versus a guy that he thinks he's above the game. And I think that's the difference. And I'm not saying Harper doesn't in a sense, but at least even if Harper, one thing that you said differently that we have not heard from Nick Castellanos, and even if Harper wasn't sincere in it, he's the only one who said I was sorry or it won't happen again or whatever it was. Did Nick Castellanos ever say he was sorry? Did you ever see any of him, even on his way out? Nothing? Like, no.
No. Harper said it for not running out of thing.
Yeah.
To Rob.
And that's it. So he didn't hustle. And that's and I get that. And you're right. We should definitely that he should get banged for that, just like what's his face? J-Roll did, like you said. But there's a little bit of a difference when you got taken out for a defensive substitution.
Okay.
In a June game in Miami, and you didn't like it, and you disrespected a player, and then you go on a disrespect, which I said I think it was a culmination. This wasn't just the first time. And again, I'm going a lot of this based on what I read in that Matt Gelb article, because I take his with a little bit more reverence than I would take some. The guy's in the locker room constantly. Guys will talk to him more than they would talk to probably any other beat reporter for the most part. So I take it with a little bit more reverence, but I hold some of it for my own opinion. But it's apparent that a lot of guys were over his shenanigans from 22, 23, and then it just kept. I just think it was a boiling point. And
I get it.
I think he hit a boiling point, to be honest with you. But his boiling point, he exploded, and then it just made it easier for them to go, we're done. We put up with enough with this guy. And again, Rob Thompson, for all the things he wants to complain about him, he was the one guy stuck by him when nobody else wanted to. I'm sure how many times, like,
okay, I'm listening.
No, go ahead.
Carlos Santana.
Yeah,
was signed for $20 million. And they Clinton put him in left field. Hoskins.
Okay.
Do you think they were going to bench Carlos Santana making $20 million? Seriously, no. They weren't going to bench. They couldn't bench. They couldn't justify sitting him down for games and game. I mean, they did at the end last year, but it's hard to do when you have all that money. You have to play him. I mean, you're stuck.
No, sometimes you're pot committed, as I use like a poker term in that sense. When you're paying a guy that much, you're pot committed. So maybe to me, again, maybe I'm looking at it from like I manage a company, a very wealthy company, and I look at it this way: is if you're really willing to bench a $20 million player for the most part, you only played in the postseason because Bader got hurt. And then you're willing to really just move on from him and possibly, as they are now, eating $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to mean something. And listen, I don't care if you're John Middleton and you make your bazillionaire, $20 million is $20 million. And for you to sit there and have to eat it, and for Dombrowski to have to sit there to sell it to Middleton, to have him to want to eat it, because I can see Middleton going, no, that guy's playing for us. Sorry. But he must have. I don't want to use the term cancer in the locker room. I think that's thrown around a little too much.
No, I get what you're saying. He is. I mean, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he was. And did he have the? I mean, it's good. Look, there's always that A conversation, F conversation, and there's the middle part we'll never know about.
Sure.
That's the whole thing. And I mean, was he a diva? Okay, yeah, I get it. I mean, did he play up to his potential here? No, he didn't. And he came in probably like a star because of the year he had in Cincinnati, where he, I think he had like 30 some home runs, 100, like whatever he did. He had a real good year.
Oh yeah, all-star year.
I mean, and then he's coming to a team where, the pressure's on this team. I mean, I use the analogy. What I always tell Maddie is, when Schwarber hits a home run, Harper goes up there, and it's like he has to bash the ball now. Like he's got to up one Schwarber. Well, I think Castellanos felt like, in his head, he had to up one of these guys here, because he's, I'm a star too. I'm getting paid making more money than Kyle Schwarber. I'm making $5.
That's been my conversation with this team for the last, since 2023, is that we had too many mashers on the team. Too many guys just trying to knock the cover off the ball and be a home run hero. And look at the Dodgers, they have guys like that, but they have also plenty of guys who can pray and spray and move guys around on the base. And that's the difference between the Phillies and the Dodgers, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now here you go. Now when you see something like when a player sitting on the bench and they see Harper go, my bad. You don't think there's 27 guys that see that. Now they think they can do it. Okay. Now when you got Schwarber saying, basically telling Robbie, I don't want to bat you. I'm first or second. I'm not batting any lower than that, because he already said, well, I don't mind being a fourth batter, but I prefer batting first. This was a couple years ago. Like, come on, dude. Like, you can't play defense. He knows he can get over on Robbie, because Robbie's going to say, okay, no big deal.
I mean,
you and Harper
kind of coach too.
But here's the thing. Schwarber's not a number two. Any manager would not have Schwarber number two.
No, I agree with you. I said the only thing that can make that $150 million digestible, partially digestible, is if he's batting fourth.
But here's the problem: is you got Robbie, who just agrees. He don't want to. He'll move everybody around after Harper. Bob will bat fourth, Bob will bat fifth, Marshall bat fifth, JT will bat fifth, JT's fourth. Yada 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 down the all down the road. How it is. He don't switch the top three. How dare he do that? How swear he switch? He said he'd do it this year. He'll move Harper to 2 and Schwarber to 3. Boy, that's a big move.
Yeah, no. Listen, I honestly thought he was gone this year. I thought Rob Thompson was gone too. I thought they were not going to go clean house, but they were going to make some changes. I thought Nick Castellanos was gone. I think everybody thought that. There was no writing was on the wall, hence why they couldn't move him. But I thought Rob Thompson was going to be gone. I mean, Harper's not getting younger, and if you want to cash in on that Harper money, even though they already have, let's be honest, they made their money.
But they're stuck. They're stuck with him.
Yeah, but you could be okay stuck with him and Schwarber, but you have to have guys around who are not just mashers, guys who can be contact hitters. And I think that's what they're going to start moving towards. I don't want to say they saw 2026 as a transition year.
Yeah.
But I kind of have that feeling the way they made moves in the offseason, things like that. I because think about it. Nick Castellanos was coming off the books one way or the other next year.
Walker.
There's a couple other guys on there.
Luzardo.
And depending on how Luzardo does this year, they may be able to re-sign him for a reasonable price. But my point is, and then hopefully Painter works out and Crawford works out, because I'm looking at Jose Perez is the only player I'm excited about this year is Painter. I mean, I'm excited to see Crawford. I would be excited they would even entertain Aiden Miller if they think he's ready, but I don't know if he's there yet. Especially, Bohm. Bohm will be gone too. This is Bo's last season, unless they re-sign him, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
I really think this is a transition year, to be honest with you.
It just goes back to Robbie. Like, I don't know. He should have been gone. Any owner, like Jimmy Rollins said, I think I've said it 100 times. John Middleton said he wants to be the George Steinbrenner of the South, of this end. Well, John, you're not living up to it, because George Steinbrenner, I hate to say it, probably would have canned that fool back after the pennant, probably, when they lost it to Arizona. He probably would have canned him. He definitely would have canned him after the Mets series, getting swept by the Mets in an ugly way. So they just keep bringing him back because
I was actually my first time campaigning. I'm over Rob Thompson. The moves he made, the things he did in that Mets series in 2024, dude. Listen, again, Rob Thompson, kind of like Nick Sirianni. Different cat, but the numbers are there for him. At least Nick Sirianni's won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
So did Barry Switzer. So I mean, Barry, he's forgot more football than Nick. So
well, all right, buddy. I got another guy on the line here.
Al, you have a good night, man. Good talking to you.
Always a pleasure. Maybe I'll talk to you on Sunday. All right, buddy.
No problem. All right, bye.
All right. Speaking of the other line here, we have a new caller into this show. A guy that I've known for years, though. Good guy, though. My boy Ian. Ian, what is going on, brother?
Oh, everything's doing all right.
You got I got your black hoodie on. You look like the Unabomber, bro. What's going on? So what's going on? What brings you to the channel tonight?
Oh, I was just here to talk with you. You got starting to hit him on the baseball, and then I'm like looking at this year, like, looking at this entire all season. Rob's lost the locker room. I think he had to a degree, he's lost it. And then the way I'm seeing how everyone, if you look up to the entire league, everyone's freezing. Like, who's the big signing? I don't think there's been a big signing this year. And so I'm thinking, because I was hearing some of my friends who are down in LA, they're expecting the Dodgers to cut a lot of people, because they're seeing that cap might be around 300, 350. Mm-hmm. So remember, they got $1 billion cap. That's $700 million gone now. So everyone's just going to wait and see, who could I snag now? So I think that's the other part.
I think we're all expecting some sort of lockout next season, Ian, because of the collective bargaining and all that stuff's going to come down. And the big item that's going to be the conversation will be what's it called?
Salary
cap. So that's going to push. But I would have to imagine guys are going to have to get grandfathered in. They're not going to they might have to be able to enforce it for the first couple of years until things start to trail off. Because, again, you can kind of Howie Roseman the situation. They and that's what the Dodgers are doing if you see it. What does Howie Roseman do? He's got those ghost years, right? Guys
Yeah,
get
gets the
paid after their contract's up. Look at Shohei Ohtani. He's done in 2034, but he gets paid at 2043.
well,
He's
the
only
way he did his contract is because of how California wrote their laws. It's a
Yeah.
retirement thing. So he took advantage of it, and then they all got pissed about it. So now he's trying to.
I still believe that's something to do with that thing with his the gambling and his translator or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was
But I think that's also a way around it too. I think it was kind of a win-win-win-win situation. But but that's what they're doing. He's getting paid a little less than 30 million now, and then he's going to be making 68 million for 10 or 11 years after the fact. I mean, and he's only going to be in his maybe 50s by the time he gets paid up on that. So he's going to be paid well and still be fairly young to enjoy it. But I'm saying that's kind of like the thing is like you kind of have to get on board with it. Like people talk about Howie not doing that. Like, oh, we're going to have all these ghost years. We've been having ghost years for years. You don't even know it. And I think right now, hold on, I have a number ready.
we have the fourth most in dead cap right now. I know that with the Eagles.
Yeah, but I believe they have 20. They're going to have, they said about like $20 million in cap space.
They did say that, and
that's all depending on. I think it's also depending on how the cap goes this year. Like they expect to raise like 20 to 25 million.
Yeah, that's what I think. What NFL's like. If they raise it, it'll be like 225, 250.
Yeah, and don't forget, the Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl, have one of the top dead cap hits as well.
Sure, but they also most of the guys signed in.
I think the dead cap's a little overblown for people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have as much as they have ways of working around it. And that's why I think Jalen will get restructured. I think if they bring in guys, like if they signed Dallas Goedert back, I think he would get a nice upfront bonus, if you know what I mean, instead of it into the year.
That.
So he can guarantee his money. Joe Hale thinks A.J. Brown comes back. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Like, it depends on the haul on that, Joe. What do you think?
I also been seeing him with Saquon a lot. Like him and Saquon and a bunch of the guys have just been going cheering. And what everyone's been reporting, like they're back to like last year when they won the championship. Like he's that level of happiness. So maybe it was just the problem was just Kevin. But Tua, like granted, he took a huge chunk of it, but maybe that was a huge problem with them. Like,
honestly, and you know what? I usually don't go this way with it, Ian, but I think part of it was him and Nick Sirianni. I blame the Eagles. I think it was a little hubris from winning the Super Bowl, bringing Kevin Patullo without really hiring or interviewing with anybody. Hey, we just won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is the man. Our O-line is the tops. Our wide receiver core is the shit. Our running back is the top in the league. Yada, yada, yada. Just 22,000 yards almost in the season. We can give this guy his chance. But here's the problem in lies. When you are getting somebody who's new into something, right? First year doing it, you always have somebody who's done it before, like either stick around a little longer or be like the guy above him, like the head coach, should know how to call plays, generically in the NFL before. Well, Nick Sirianni did very little
with all that. And then he just brings in his guy. Then now I think Howie's like, Nick, you're done with that. Like Nick, you're cool.
And I think they said, well, we can't. But they did bring somebody in who hasn't done it before. But they brought in Grizzard, who had that at least last year with the Bucs. Now it's not saying much, but there's at least somebody who's done it before. So again, I think there's a little hubris there with that situation. But ultimately, kind of swinging things back to
the Phillies.
I think. I don't want to sit there and say Rob lost the locker room, because the Phillies, if you're allowing Nick Castellanos leave in the way he left, and you believe that locker room has just completely lost respect and completely lost any belief in their skip, I think he would have been gone too. There's no plus in letting him stay. Like, if you believe that. I really think that was a big distraction. Now, not the reason they lost. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that was a big, 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 big distraction for them.
I think they're also going to be bringing up guys. I think we finally see the years. Who else do we have to bring up? Like Justin Crawford. We keep hearing him. When does he come up?
It's going to be the youth movement. It's going to be the youth movement. Youth movement is going to be big for the Phillies going into the next year. And that's the way they're going to be able to bounce back, is by you still have Harper still in his prime, Schwarber prime-ish. You're going to have JT around to help work with Painter a little bit while they hopefully start to find the catcher of the future in the next year or two. But, Crawford in the outfield, Bohm leaves next year. If Aiden Miller can come up, everything's looking good trajectory-wise with him. See how Bryson Stott ends up. I think, you'll see guys like Brandon Marsh be gone next year. There's going to be a lot of guys. A youth movement will be what they're going to be wanting. And I'm hoping, that whatever they learned, if they could take a $20 million lesson out of this whole Nick Castellanos thing, because they said they were trying to work with him to try to teach him to be a little bit more plate discipline, and he didn't want to hear it. Hopefully they talk across the board. And if I'm Rob Thompson, if I'm the skip, right? First thing Ian and I would say, if you're my one of my star players, I would sit you guys all in the middle of the room and say, hey, Ian and everybody else, listen up here. Nick's gone. We know what happened there. We need to move forward. We're here to win the World Series. Am I wrong? And get that, get everybody all jazzed up and ready to go. And then be like, but we need to make changes. We need to look in the mirror and see what we all have done wrong. I know what I've done wrong, and here's what I've done wrong. And I put it right up on a dry erase board. Now I want the rest of you to come up and start putting what you think you could do better. And if you had truth serum in them, I guarantee a lot of them would say plate discipline would come up.
Yeah, as well. But my case would be the pitching's like staying out, get more inside of the strike zone. So I would probably end up being the pitcher.
Yeah. But our pitching's carried us a lot. I mean, I think we would be without really good pitching.
But now if they go down the best way to put it is like what they do with the unions. Like they constantly, you look at them, they constantly cycle guys out. Like this year, they cycle out a bunch of their guys that just won on the supporter shield. The best. That means they're the best in the entirety of MLS in the regular season, and that's something they say. Hey, we just sell a bunch of the guys, which frustrates. The part that still frustrates me is they don't use that money to bring in some guys to help along, because they constantly bring in their youth guys coming up. And now these young bucks, they're hungry. They want to make a name for themselves. So maybe that lights a fire under their butt, because they're realizing, oh crap, these guys are still going to come for my job.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know one of the conversations on sports media this week was that the Eagles could be looking to bring in like a second round, third round quarterback or a second backup quarterback to put a little heat on Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever with that. But, I think that's what the youth brings. I think the youth brings energy and to guys, and I think it also brings hope, because maybe that will be the saving grace for the Bryce Harper era, that instead of just lining him up with a bunch of guys who are a bunch of mashers and just mash the ball while the pitching takes care of the rest. I mean, the 2023 Diamondbacks gave everybody a script on how to beat the Phillies. Like they did, like just throw stuff to them that they can't hit over the fence. And that's what they did. Joe Hale thinks the future's bright. I sure hope so. I hope the development is good in the Phillies organization. I hope Aiden Miller is ready. We're going to find out this year if Andrew Painter can hack it, because they've been doing a lot of that.
Because there's
Painter basket.
Yeah, because I have no faith in Nola, because Nola has up down, and this ironically, knock on wood, he does have a good year and step up, because that's been his MO. It's like it's so inconsistent, especially during the playoffs. You can't have that. So Painter's got to step up. He competes for Nola's job. And let's see if he.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he is. I'm not saying Painter has to be an all-star or an ace pitcher this year, but they have passed up on some trades that could have had some big players here because they thought he was the future. Same thing with Crawford. Same thing with Aiden Miller. They could have probably brought in some big names with those trades. So, but at one point, and this is why I agree with Matty B a little bit about that, you have to let some of the young guys. You can't just keep giving guys big contracts because we kind of get into the situation where we are now. So Rob thinks Noah will be better this year. I sure hope so, Rob. That's one of my frustrations with him playing World Baseball Classic for Italy, by the way, not even just for America. I don't want any of those guys playing, to be honest with you. We are not getting any closer to the promised land. We're actually just like kind of meandering towards the end of the finish line, but not crossing the finish line. And we've been there, and it just feels like we're falling backwards even before that.
It's like the Flyers.
Yeah, well, at least the Flyers are a little different. I mean, ultimately, the Phillies are more made to win the World Series now than the Flyers are made to win.
The post-Ed years, like especially the post-Ed years, when they'll make it into the playoffs. Next year, they'll go out. They'll miss it in, out. It's like, what are we doing here? Why are we stagnating with the Flyers? Yeah. That's what you're describing the Phillies currently.
But with the Phillies, it's like they're not even in out of the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. They're winning 90 games easily, and then they get to the playoffs, and it's just like that's it. Like it's and that's the problem. I think the frustration comes in with this team. And when you have guys here long enough, getting towards the end of the contracts, they thought they maybe should have had a World Series already under their belt, and now they're not. You know, it plays a factor. I'm just hoping that these guys playing the World Baseball Classic. I mean, we saw Trey Turner the year he got signed here. He played in the World Baseball Classic, and then he came in here and he had a pretty tough year for the most part. So we'll find out. And with Harper playing with Team USA, he'll be in better shape. I hope it plays out that way. I really do, Joe. I really do. Maybe I get a little nervous with that, especially with, I think he said it, Joe said it earlier, maybe you did, Ian. You know, Harper has kind of been banged up more often than not, and different injuries, a wrist injury, and you know, all that kind of stuff. The Tommy John injury, and Joe hopes the Flyers will be selling. I feel like that's like every year, Joe, anymore.
Well, I mean, there's a main prospect with Gavin McKinnon. That's still always going to be up in the air, even though most of the charges got dropped. Because I was like, oh wait, so maybe we don't have to compete for completely tank. And now it's like, oh no, now we got to completely tank again. Just to get as long as
it's tough. All right, Ian, I'm going to close up the show. So I want to thank you for calling in. Don't be a stranger, my friend. I will see. I'll be back here next Friday, of course, and I'll be on the show on Sunday with Mike in the morning at 9 a.m. for those who like to get up early on Sundays. Enjoy your Valentine's Day, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, talk to you soon, man. Oh, did you see the new Union kit?
I did. My boy Steve Fuentes put it out on his Twitter. I saw it. I'm a big soccer guy, but that was pretty cool looking. I have to admit.
Yeah, that's the best.
All right, brother, take it easy. All right, that's Ian. Love joining him. Ian's been around. I've known Ian for a while. He's been following me since even before EOP was EOP. And hopefully Wheeler gets back to his old form. That's a big hope, dude. I don't know if you guys hear the video that he has the bone that they had removed, thoracic bone, in his closet, hanging in his closet. It's pretty Wheeler-esque type stuff. Thank you, Rob. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to go check on my little guy. Little guy just kind of just recently in the last few hours started feeling under the weather. So it is 10:10. So guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Go get some rest. I know you guys are all hard-working SOBs like myself. Go get some rest. Go enjoy. I say go watch the Olympics, but I can care less about the Olympics, to be honest with you. I've made that abundantly clear. But other than that, guys, enjoy. Check out the rest of the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Let's see what we got going on tomorrow. The best of It's a Wrap Sports, and then Philly AM Sports, which is me and Mike at 9 a.m. on Sunday. And the Final Word with Matty B is back, and then we get all back around to all the great Monday through Friday stuff as usual. Guys, I love having you. I love talking to you. Thank you for Joe, I appreciate it. I'm glad you pushed me a little bit on doing it because, to be honest with you, I was always a little bullish, but so far it has been great. But other than that, guys, I will talk to you soon. Stay safe and have a great Valentine's Day. See you.